Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, the subject I want to cover today is occult engineering. Now, this is quite a fascinating little term that I wish I had thought of. It's so simple, but I was talking with someone and they said, who I was getting ready to do some training with, etc. He said, well, this is kind of occult engineering. And I said, well, that's a good term. And of course, the term occult has been really pooed upon as of recent times because of the misunderstanding from ignorant, buffoonish public and, of course, anyone connected to that. It's one of those words that people don't like. They associate negativity with it, as psychic power has been. But there is no really other replacement for this. It's called, of course, there is subtle energy physics or subtle energy engineering as well. So these are kind of interchangeable terms, but I do like that term. And this is the next level of science. And of course, radionic tech is on the cutting edge as we've been for the last 40 years. I mean, I look back and I was using fiber optics and lasers and my radionic machines 35 years ago. And people are still not using that today. They're using orgone. It's some powder in there. So, the garbage there, let's create a lot of toxicity because these people have no background whatsoever. And as usual, the alternative community is just as stupid, if not stupider, than the regular community. It's amazing their prejudices, how easily they're bought off, and basically what a criminal group of people alternative public is. It's really sad. But after investigating for this last year into all different areas, the wackos and the alternative make the government look like virgins. But that's another subject. But the bottom line is that I have figured out, using traditional science blended with ancient science, the science of mystery schools, alchemy, etc. And of course, this is something that is really the birth of common science. All goes back to an alchemist. So we do need to understand that as well. Few people understand what is going on there. So Sir Isaac Newton was quite an interesting fellow who spent most of his life studying alchemy and writing spiritual type texts. Very interesting. It's quite a character, quite a weirdo, but, the problem is, and this is where we run into so many things, if you expect to get alternative stuff from the common normal person, you're not going to find it. Quite frankly, I'm the only common normal person in the alternative field that I'm aware of. Most people who are alternative all got some little strange personality problems, kinks, etc. They're odd people because they are in something that's outside of society, and as such, they think they have to be weirder, or that's the reason why they think differently. Now, I've never thought that. I always see all this stuff as, well, you don't get it? Well, why not? You're a common person. You're trying to achieve something. We're basically on the same team, and certainly we should meet, but that's not their attitude. So it's very hard to find people that are, quote, normal in whatever ways that is. So all of that needs to be fully understood of what's going on in the bigger picture. So this is one of the problems you run into. But now I've been studying this and have a doctorate from the only college that ever taught these kind of things, combining ancient occultism or alchemistry with modern subtle energy physics, radionics. And this was what the school was open, the Advanced Science Institute in Palm Springs, California, which was open from 1990 to 2000. And we had a few students go through there. Very few people completed the program, but there are a few that got occult degrees, occult science degrees. And of course, we're continuing this and we're building up our degree programs in our particular website as we move away from public or social media to the really meat of things. Social media is good for letting people know what you're doing, and then they should be going over to other places, and that's how we're doing it. But occult engineering is all part of how we have to think differently, how we have to look at science from a completely different reality. Now, we understand the basics from Newton and somewhat from Einstein, and we have 150 years of the same old, well, basically Newton goes back, 400 years? And after Newton, basically people have been touting, and the kind of the failure common physics, particularly the theoretical physicist, which Einstein was, me think it's this, and then me try and prove but really can't. So the whole idea is that that's the only thing that came in, and few people understand that Einstein didn't discover anything. He read old papers and then kind of clarified things, apparently, and it doesn't even seem he used the same math that we're familiar with now. So this appears, who knows what the vagaries of common and hidden and deceptions that you get from common science is all about. So, but it really doesn't matter. Science, as we know it today, has not been able to either have the morality, the honesty, the integrity, or can think outside the box. So once we've got out of or understand the basics, it's stuck basically in a dead end, in a cul-de-sac where they really can't get out. Even though, because of the internet and the literally millions of people studying different sciences, probably hundreds of millions, we are now getting a vast amount of information. But if you come out with anything new, forget it. You're not going to hear from them again. It's as simple as that. Whether it's a medical discovery or something else. So it just gets swept under the table. And we have so much of this that we have to. But, we have to go past all this anyway. The whole idea is stop dealing with the physical and start dealing with the energetic, the non-physical. And this is what we need to do. So this is very critical for all of us to understand. And we need to adjust to this to go to the next level. And I have figured all this out. Everything's coming out in the next few months. We are making major shifts every possible where. We will be opening up many areas of the school. We have an occult science right now in the Radionic Institute, the Subtle Energy Institute. We have a whole page on occult engineering. We're also going to be showing all the classic old devices, and you'll be able to look at them intimately, what was used in the past. Very rare technology that I'm one of the few that own it, and the only one that's actually bringing it out there. And this is all part of having all-access membership. We've also started what is considered the Temple of Radionics, because this is a spiritual path, and people need to be kind of geared together and work together as a tight group. So we have all this, and also training courses where we're going to get involved in that. This is all part of the occult engineering, but occult engineering has a lot of major principles. And all of these will be released in the next coming months in all-access membership. Right now, we're still dealing with the unique technologies that I've learned over the last 40 years, how to properly put together consciousness machines. All of this has been overlooked, and unfortunately, all the organizations that have come previously and even working today really don't have a clue on how to make anything. They're still in the electromagnetic spectrum. They're using silly little devices. Many of them are just built poorly with garbage in them. Some of them are even making kind of plate type things where it's basically a conductor plate, and they think this is good. Now, all this stuff is not the way it works. And of course, they're all stuck in the electromagnetic spectrum, which is not what this or any other real energy is. I mean, people need to go back and think more about the ether, and which was a popular understanding of energy years ago. Now we've released that or given that up foolishly. I think that's closer to what's really happening in the bigger picture. So occult engineering is figuring out the whole new engineering, dealing with very high, very advanced technologies, and we need to understand that. We're going into the next level of technology, the kind of technology that super advanced races, extraterrestrials use, which is consciousness-based. And consciousness is not electromagnetic. It doesn't work through electromagnetic metals or anything else. So this is a whole new way of thinking. Now, we must understand, I always like to bring in, there's a difference between science and engineering. Engineers have to take the garbage they're given by the theoretical physicists, and they have to make it work. And there is a practicality to that, and it's never wanting to be something that I poo-poo. The problem is that most scientists are speaking goo-goo. They're all in preschool. They have no idea what they're talking about. That garbage is then given to the engineers that have to take this lump of poo and carve the statue of David out of it. And that's pretty much what engineers do. But, you can't fail in engineering or you have serious problems. You can't have a theoretical airplane engine or planes fall to the ground or in the ocean. Well, I theoretically thought it should work. Well, that's where engineers come in. The same thing could happen with skyscrapers. You want a 150 floor building to fall over because I theoretically thought it was there. So the whole idea is that's what engineers are for, and we don't want to criticize that, even though our technologies, a lot of them, are still pretty primitive because we are not moving into the next level. That's what subtle energy radionic physics is all about. It's moving to the next level, and this technology can be used today, is effective, is working, is measurable right now. And the beginning stages of it are now in development, and we expect to have some amazing tools coming out in the next 6 months to a year. We still have amazing tools coming out right now where we've taken kind of a silly radionic industry filled with a bunch of goofballs and Satanists into a high level of technological efficiency and tools that work. So all of that is now happening now, and all of this is part of the process that we are particularly doing to move science on to the next level. And of course, the one thing about subtle energy physics is that we can prove our physics every day because we use the energy to manipulate, manifest, and influence the physical reality. And this is exciting. So it's nothing about theoretical. This is not if, ands, or maybes. Well, maybe. I don't know, theoretically. Yeah, can I have my $250,000 a year for thinking? So the whole idea is that this kind of stuff needs to end. But, we're living in the Gnostic hell, and we have to understand that. That we have the appearance of civilization when there really isn't. It's a masked bunch of freaky murderers that are really just seeking out to destroy everyone and this planet. It's pretty shocking what is going on, and things are getting worse as time goes on. And of course, everything is tied to the buck and everything else. And there are no people who can fight against it, who are interested or have really any kind of credibility whatsoever, other than radionic tech. So all of this is going to come out. And of course, we are really excited to get this whole occult engineering going. And that's how we have to think. All occult means is hidden. So the actual energies here, as with most everything that science and everyone else uses today, is pretty much occult. So it's hidden. We're not really sure. They don't understand electricity. They really don't understand most things out there of how it actually works. And because they don't fully understand it, they're not able to use it at its highest level. They also get stuck in the fact that they want to keep everything on this pseudo-physical realm when everything is physical. Just their idea of something physical is a rock. And that's about the level they're at. So this is time for the select few to get out in front, make their changes, develop their life and world, and we don't really care what the rest of society does. Because certainly you're not going to get any positive feedback from this. You're not going to get support. People are too busy supporting weirdos, freaks, religious nuts, and all the other people out there are some pseudo-educated person with a title after their name. Yeah, what have you done? So any credible physicist, as even happened recently, all becoming philosophers now because there's no place to go with regular physics. There's nothing to discover. There's nothing you can get to work. It's dead and been dead for 150 years. They continue to be stuck in arcane, stupid ideas created by Einstein, who probably wouldn't be standing behind his beliefs right now, saying that the best type of scientist is a metaphysician. Isn't that interesting? So here we get back to the same old thinking, even from him, that the best are the more expanded thinkers, yet he decided to not support quantum physics when he had a chance to because he couldn't understand it. Not very metaphysical of him, is it? So occult engineering is the future. This is next level technology. We're going to have next level tools that work, that can be measured, and they're going to be available very soon. We are still working on kind of the older concepts as well, bringing them up to the most powerful level with our new breakthroughs. Breakthroughs that take the subatomic functioning of regular electronics and convert them into subtle energy working machines. I mean, this is groundbreaking, and this is what you need to do. What's going through these machines is a very high level of energy, and the only person that can handle this is a highly evolved person. You are the key to the energies and using it and developing it the way it should be. Not given to any goofball that wants to flip a switch and get some sort of super empowerment. It has to go through a high-level person who is balanced and who will use the technology correctly. That's why you have to be a techno shaman. You have to understand what's going on here. These are high spiritual machines, consciousness machines. This is the next level, people, not a flip the switch nonsense that anybody can use. That kind of technology would be highly dangerous, and certainly, like every single technology that's ever been invented, is completely and totally misused. Well, by having the consciousness filters where only a certain people reaching a certain level of empowerment can use these to the highest and best realms, well, this makes the technology safe as well, something that regular scientists seem to ignore, who seem to be moralists, evil scumbuckets who would pretty much for a buck would produce the most horrible weapons possible and give it to the lowest possible people out there, known as politicians in general, but the whole populace is evil. And of course, they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the consequences and the toxic crap that they've made, that they've now unleashed on the planet. Well, this technology has built into it this filter, which is fantastic. This way, only a select, well-trained group of people will ever be able to use this tool to the highest level. And that's where the Temple of Radionics comes in. And we'll be talking about that in the next lecture. This is the new reality. This is the new consciousness. This will solve all our problems, and basically has been doing it now for many, many years at a potent but very low level. And only those with the highest consciousness, and when you become a occult engineer, when you need to be part of the radionic temple, you need to balance your spirituality so you can understand this technology, because that's when you get the quote divine guidance to make better, more potent technologies and to use them to the highest level. No, you're not going to get it out of a book and do this and that as a technician and get the highest, best results. Now, technicians, of course, will be able to actually use these machines to a certain level. But the masters have to be spiritual masters. You have to be a radionic monk. And that's what it comes down to. That's what it's all about. That's the new level, because we have to change ourselves at our basis level away from a destructive, evil reality if we expect to deal with things that are basically earth and consciousness changing. This is even the universe can be affected by this. Now, if you think that's going to be handed over just to anybody or some booky little freak that wants to go to a 4-year college and sit with his other pseudo-intellectual nerds and think they're going to figure it out because somebody 500 years ago put the basics to what is basically fraudulent understanding of science. But, you know, they're all in preschool, and that's where they're at. And these little preschool understandings have helped build a very primitive structure. But the real structures are not based in any of this older, backward science. It's all about occult engineering. It's all about consciousness-based science and technology to build the best, most powerful, purest, most balanced technologies available out there. It's here, it's now, it's called occult engineering, and you should become part of it.